Hello, everyone. Welcome in. This is one of the most important live streams that you can probably go to because we're going to be talking about the total solar eclipse that is coming up this upcoming Monday. If you think that this information will help you, will help a friend, will help anyone you know, astrology lover, people that don't know astrology, anyone of the like, please send them this video. Please send them this live stream either right now or after it's done because this is very important. I highly suggest everyone stay through the whole time if you can because we're going to be talking about, once more, the total solar eclipse. We're going to be heading into the second half of eclipse season. We've just finished off the lunar eclipse season. It's just ending off with the Scorpio moon. We're in the dark phase of the moon right now, getting into the next part, which goes into the solar eclipse, which is going to activate way more. There's a lot going on this week as well. We have Venus going into Sagittarius. We have Saturn going into Aquarius. And these are big shifts that are happening that are going to make a huge difference with everything. So, like I said, this is a very important live stream. Thank you all for showing up. I appreciate the love down in the chat. We're about to get started in just 1 second. But before I do want to make a quick announcement. If you go to House of Intuition's page online, we have a 25% off discount going on until the end of today. So at 12 p.m. or a.m., 12 a.m. PST, it's going to be over. So you have to check out the 25% off code that we have. It's going to be Bless Me 25. So be sure to check that out. Check out the page, look at the exclusions, look at what you can use it for. But yeah, outside of that, I think I want to get started into the week a little bit because, like I said, this is a very, very potent week that is going to be shifting literal destiny for the entire collective. Last time we went into the shift, which was 2 weeks ago, if you watched my live stream then, I was talking about the lunar eclipse. And what the lunar eclipse was doing is that it was giving, what the lunar eclipse was doing was it was giving the emotional letting go, right? There's a lot of letting go on an emotional level, on a spiritual level that we all had to go through, that we all had to embrace in different ways and different facets. There was a huge releasing though. The universe was guiding people to release the things that they were holding on, release the things that they may have been like keeping for a very long time, right? Now what's happening now with this solar eclipse that we're heading into is that we're shifting the way that we end up viewing and pushing out our personal personas. How are we tapping into the highest self that we have? How are we tapping into with our guides, with our spirits, with the ancestors, etc.? How are we tapping into the higher forces and aspects that want to push us forward and propel us forward into our greatest destiny that we can achieve? On top of this, right, because this is a Sagittarius new moon, this is going to be tapping into the insight that we all have, tapping into the views that we all have, tapping into our philosophies. What can we see in front of us and what can we see beyond what we see in front of us? These are all themes that are going to be rocking through with the solar eclipse that's coming in and coming up. If you want to know what's going on with the solar eclipse on a deep level with the new moon and everything like that, be sure to go to my class this upcoming Monday on the 14th when the solar eclipse is happening, because on that day I'll go through, if you've been to any of my classes, y'all know I'll go off. So it's an hour straight, $10 a piece, and it's just me literally breaking down what's going on with the solar eclipse. I break down the science behind it, I break down the astrology behind it, and I tell you how it's going to impact your personal zodiac sign. We get in there, talk about the astrology, we pull cards, we get everyone's questions answered. It's a beautiful time. So be sure to check that out as well. It's on Monday on the 14th, 6 p.m. PST, $10 Zoom. So make sure that you check out the House of Intuition classes as well as the discount that we have for the rest of the day. So please check both of those things out. Now, moving on, right? This week, on top of this solar eclipse that's shifting the destiny of the collective and such like that, we also have Venus going into Sagittarius, which is opening up our hearts and our minds into a new sense of freedom. How are we tapping into our sense of freedom? How are we tapping into our sense of wisdom? How are you going to be listening to your personal heart's wisdom? And then later on, we have Saturn entering Aquarius. And if anyone who has been paying attention to anything spiritual related or anything along the likes, you'll notice that on the 21st, on the winter solstice, which is known as a very potent day as far as ceremony and stuff, it is the longest night Yes, it's the longest night that we have, right? Before the sun rises again. So the whole idea behind this is that the winter solstice is a very critical time for magic. I wrote a blog on that as well. It will be coming out with House of Intuition very soon. But on top of that, right, the whole idea behind this is that we also have what's known as the Great Conjunction coming up. So that's the whole idea behind it. What do you mean by shifting the destiny of the collective? That's a great question. So the whole idea behind shifting the destiny of the collective is that every person's individual destiny is shifting. And because every person's individual destiny is shifting, that means everyone else around them is having to shift as well. So even people that aren't necessarily spiritual, or people that aren't necessarily in tune with astrology, you'll notice that they might feel a heavier weight. What happens is when it comes to these solar eclipses, and when it comes to eclipses in general, is that the sun and moon are meeting the nodes. And what the nodes are in astrology are the points of destiny. They are the lunar nodes. And the whole idea behind this, right, is that when these nodes get activated, it's almost like if you ever seen a movie, and when you watch the movie, there's like that one character and it's like, I know my destiny's coming, this, that, and the third, or like there's like a weird thing that changes in the stars and they like suddenly go on this grand adventure. That's happening to you. It's not even happening just to you. It's happening to all of us. And it's happening to people even more so who are tapped into their energy, who are tapped into their spirituality, who are tapped into the general vibes that provides. So that's the reason why it's so critical and so important. And that's why I say it's shifting the destiny of the collective. And having it be in Sagittarius, it's going to be on the south node. So what's happening is we're introducing old factors and old energies that we may have known all of our lives but not been able to express, or even for people that are maybe more advanced, there might be a lot of like past life scenario or past life energy that's coming up and coming to the surface in order for you to conquer, tap in, and allow the universe to really like move you forward as far as that. So it's like a lot of old talent, a lot of old skills that you may not even remember of having are going to be revitalized and letting you move forward towards what it is that you want to achieve. So that's the reason why this is so important. So once more, go to my class on the Monday. It's going to be on the 14th, on the actual day of the solar eclipse. I'm going to be breaking that down. And I know that energy very well. I was born under the energy of the Sagittarius New Moon, so I trust I can go through. I'm going to let you know. And it's going to be shifting not only the destiny for the rest of pretty much forever, but at least for certain, the next 6 months until the next eclipses arrive at that 6 month cycle. So, like I said, be sure to tap into that because like I'm going off. I'm letting y'all know everything that's going down. So please pull through. Yes, you've been having a lot of vivid dreams lately. Exactly. Like this is a very eclipse season for the first half was weird to begin with. But for the second half, it's going to be a different type of weird. The same level of weird, different type of weird. Because the different type of weird is that like, you're going to be really starting to express once more, like I said, these past things, these past inclinations, and everything along the lines with that. So that's what's really critical about this time frame. I don't know if I mentioned this beforehand, but my name is Chad the Maverick. I'm the in-house astrologer here at House of Intuition. Feel free to check out any of my stuff. Is Chad the Maverick across the board. Instagram, all that stuff, Chad the Maverick. If you want to check out anything that I have or I personally do. Is it positive changes? It is positive changes, but you have to trust the universe moving you. For the most part, I do new moon and full moon classes every new moon and full moon, but eclipses are different. And the reason why they are different is because they're basically a normal new moon and full moon times 10 or 100 or whatever it has to be. Like it's just a multiplier on top of that. And the reason why that is because it's very hard to just like, it's hard to maneuver because it's just happening to everyone, right? So it's not like the regular new moon where it's like, hey, you just set your intentions, everything moves. It's like this new moon is like, it's almost like you don't have the full control of it because it's your higher self, your higher spirit, your higher facets making these moves for you, putting you in these positions for you, aligning you into the things that you have to see, aligning you into the things you have to do, specifically having to see because it's a Sagittarius new moon. But thinking of a total career change, if the total career change is happening, it's literally flowing through. And that's the whole point about the eclipses, that they really shift that. Do you set intentions on that day? So personally, I wouldn't set intentions per se as much as it's like literally willing to like surrender to what the universe is trying to like bring you, what the universe is trying to show you. It's like I said, it's very hard to maneuver because it's not like a normal new moon. It's not a normal full moon. It's just like letting it be and letting it push forward, right? Is it auspicious to give birth on a day of an eclipse? That's amazing. So people that are born on eclipses hold that power for their whole entire life. So you're going to be, if you are giving birth on an eclipse, first of all, you're a very magical person to be able to do that. Second of all, happy birthday to the new Sagittarius coming in. I love all my Sagittarius. Third of all, it really is just like making a big shift and a big change in regards of all of that. So shouts out to you. I'm very happy for that, and there's going to be a very, very magical person. Be sure to look at their chart, check out the information, so you can really know how to like work with that energy. So definitely research into that as well. 12/10 was your birthday. 12/10 was my birthday. It's lit. So, so basically, you have to go with the flow. Yes, but you have to go with the flow even harder than you would any other time. It's basically like even when things might like get weird, even when things might pop up, you really have to embrace and invoke what's going on with that. Like you really have to embrace and invoke what's going on with that type of energy. Be mindful. It's not an energy to be afraid of. It's just an energy so you can understand that these shifts that are happening are all for a higher purpose, all for a higher cause to get you tapped into your spirit, to get you tapped into your sun sign. Honestly, that's a big portion about it. But once more, for the solar eclipse specifically, be sure to tap in on Monday. And like I said, I go off for an hour. I break down everything, what you should do to manifest, what you should do to like more so surrender for this one, but everything. Like I said, anyone who's been to my classes know that's how it gets down. So very excited to be doing that for you all. So what I'm going to be doing right now, right? What we're going to do is that I'm going to transition over into what's going on for this week. Like from today on to next Saturday when I come on live again, right? This is going to be a very important time. Mind you, the one thing that's very important as well is that after this solar eclipse week, it's a week of the solar eclipse, then it's the grand conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn, the two monolith, gigantic juggernaut planets that shift a lot of things for us. And then the week after that, we have the full moon in Cancer. So the full moon at its highest peak. Like this December is wild. This December is weird. This is like one of the most weird time frames. 2020 was like, oh, we're going to end off with a bang. I guess we're going to end off with a bang. So be sure to stay tuned for like everything like I do as far as like presenting that information, because I really believe pushing that forward will really help. If you've been having bad luck for the last couple of weeks, that is the lunar eclipse that was letting go of all the things like that in order to shift you into this new space. So if you've been having like an type of week for the last lunar eclipse, it's because you had to address all these emotions that you may have not addressed before, you may have not worked on before. And then moving forward into the next part for the solar eclipse is when you really actually gain in that power and you step into that power as far as everything like that is concerned. So we're not, okay, so the whole Aquarius, Jupiter and Saturn conjunction, we're not moving into the age of Aquarius per se, but we are making the transitions over. So like this Aquarian energy that's coming in is going to be very strong, very powerful. Once more, stay tuned for my class on the 21st as well, because I'm going to be breaking down that information. Check out all my classes because I have one every Monday and Wednesday at 6 p.m. PST across the board. $10 a piece is a beautiful time. We have a bunch of fun. Also, if you just tapping in, there's a 25% off code until the end of today with House of Intuition. So be sure to check that out because it's going to be great. So like I said, get into the astrology of the week. So let's start off with today, right? The main three shifts that are happening are the solar eclipse, like I just was mentioning, right? The Venus in Sagittarius, which is going to be happening, and then Saturn in Aquarius. So I'm going to break that down as I break down the days individually. So to start off, right, we're going to start off with the 12th, which is today, right? So what's going on today? We have the moon making its conjunction with Venus in Scorpio. So this is like, and it's in the dark moon as well. So what this is that this is a very strong and powerful uncovering of very untapped feelings and untapped emotions that you may have not like realized beforehand. And this is kind of like the last, in a sense, final shifting and the final purging, I should say, of what was going on is in regards to that energy. Like you're really, it's a very strong letting go of, but it's a very intense emotional time frame because it's like letting go of all the things that basically like have been on your heart that don't resonate, are now being uncovered. And the reason why they're being uncovered is because this is what's going to be shifting heading into, once more, the solar eclipse. So before the solar eclipse happens, it basically is like clearing house on those last few things that the lunar eclipse hasn't finished, yo. So whatever, like this moon in Scorpio is like, oh, the lunar eclipse didn't finish that part out. Well, we're gonna get rid of that today. we're getting rid of that today, a little bit of the next day before we enter into Sagittarius. I'm gonna believe later on tonight, actually, we're going into the moon in Sagittarius, which is starting off the solar eclipse energy for real, for real. So that's something to really pay attention to. Now moving on, right? Moving on to this next, or the same day, I'm sorry. But Mars is sextile the North Node. So the moves that you make today, the actions that you take today, the desires that you end up tapping into today are all trying to align once more with this this new sense of, like, say, spirituality. Because if it's sextile the North Node, that means it's also making its trine to the South Node. And what this is doing once more is that these actions, this is basically unlocking old talents that you forgot that you had. This is unlocking like old talents, old abilities, old just like personal power that you may have not like been resonating with recently because of whatever may have been happening in life, or maybe because of this whole entire year going to crap. You might have been super talented in something in 2019, and then things kind of like fell off because all of the things that were happening in the world, which is completely understandable. But what this whole idea is, and before the solar eclipse is doing, is trying to bring you back into that, because that is what you are meant to kind of bring to the fray. It's trying to implement, like I said, these talents and skills and these ideas that you may have even like step back from back into there. And that's why the moon in Scorpio is like letting go of this last bit, so you can end up kind of like merging with it as the solar eclipse happens. Once more, come to the class, I'll break down everything step by step. I literally have the whole thing. So yeah, it is exciting news because it's been a very wild year. So this is very exciting news as far as that is concerned. So that's going to be today, essentially, right? The 12-12, that's the whole idea behind it. I know some people also talk about a 12-12 portal. So if this is the time frame for it, my big suggestion for that is to just like literally help use this energy to help release the rest of what the lunar eclipse 2 weeks ago in that lunar eclipse season has been doing, to just like let it go, purge it out, and let it be, because that's going to be very critical as far as all that energy is concerned. Going on into the next day, we're going into the 13th now, right? So on the 13th, we have Mercury in Sagittarius making its square over to Neptune and Pisces. Now, what this is, right? Mercury in Sagittarius is a sign where it's like our minds are supposed to be speaking the truth, right? We're supposed to be speaking the truth on a very authentic level. We're supposed to be using our philosophies and really speaking on the things that we think, speaking on the things that we are really tapping into, right? But with the square over to Neptune and Pisces, what's interesting about this is that on the 13th, it's going to be one of those days where it's like, hey, we want to speak that truth, but we also want to like there's a truth, but there's also the truth that your higher portion wants, the truth that your higher self feels. And you're kind of like, what you're trying to do in a sense is bridge in between. It's like, hey, I may be here right now, but I'm going to be a millionaire in 2 years. Or like, hey, I might be here now, but I want to be this. So it's kind of like one of those days where it's like you have to recognize, one, where you are in reality, like where you realistically are, but then you also have to recognize that your dreams are just like a step or two away. So what this day is doing is essentially having you kind of combine the idea behind like, yeah, I'm here right now, but like I'm going to be on the come up with X, Y, and Z. Or, hey, I might be like here right now, but I know I see the path, I see the vision of this, that, and the third. And no one's going to stop me on this vision because this is the vision that I have. This is what spirit is guiding me to do. And this is when the solar eclipse is coming up from that. Someone just say, I am a millionaire. That's the whole idea behind it. This is the day where you bridge in, be like, I am a millionaire. And you might look at your bank account and be like, I'm not there yet per se. But the whole idea behind that is like to tap into both of those energies of, this is realistically where I am, and this is realistically where I'm going to get myself to be. And that type of energy is very important. So be sure that you make sure that you speak that good affirmation on that day. There's a lot of magic on that day, but you have to pay attention as to where you're going to be aiming as far as all of that is concerned, because that's how that is going to end up working for you in that process. So that's going to be going on that day. So I'm about to hop into the new moon in Sag, which is happening, which is the total solar eclipse, right? So the whole idea, once more, like I said, tune into the class. If you're just tapping in right now, Chad the Maverick, this is who I am, in-house astrologer here at House of Intuition. I have a lot of things coming out. I got blogs coming out. I got live streams coming out. This is my favorite day of the week, which is Astrology Saturday, where I break down the week for you all. But like I said, tune into the classes. I teach astrology on a intermediate to beginner level. I have also a new series that's coming up in January, so be tuned and stay tuned for that. And yeah, so like I said, stay tuned. We have a lot coming up for y'all. So like I said, new moon is Sag. There's a lot going on this day, and I can't break it down all right now because it's entirely too much. But like for this specific day, I can't do it right now. It's way too much stuff. But the new moon, right? We have like which day is it? It's gonna be Monday. This upcoming Monday is when this is happening. So on Monday that's coming up, right, is a new moon in Sagittarius. We have Mercury opposing the node of destiny. We have Mercury trining Mars, pushing these things forward. We have Venus and Jupiter giving us the luck that we need in order to embrace our hearts to further and really tap into our higher portions, our higher selves, etc., etc. It's all going to be different for each sign and each zodiac sign, and depending on your personal setup and your big three, what signs you have in your birth chart, etc. Depends on like where this is happening for you, what's really making that change. And I'll be breaking that down once more on Monday. So be sure to stay tuned to that. And if you can't go to the class for any form of reason, I'll give you like a little bit right now just so you can see. But the new moon in Sagittarius, once more, is a opening up of essentially a portal to the vision of what you want your future to be. It's an opening up of the vision that you want to create as far as like your philosophy, as far as like even like your morality in a sense, right? It's really kind of tapping you into a sense of like your own personal justice. How do you bring justice into the world? How you bring justice into the fray and keep your truth in the general process? That's what's really important. Someone just say the classes are lit. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I have so much fun doing those with you all, and I love interacting and answering y'all questions in the chat. It's a beautiful, beautiful time. But that's going to be, like I said, on this new moon coming up. Be sure to check that out. Super critical. And just like I said, and if nothing else, let go and let the universe. Because that's what this whole end of 2020 is about. Entering 2021 is letting go and letting the universe, because the universe is guiding you into the next space, is guiding you into the next piece of information that you need to really like know and tap into. So moving on from the day after this. So right after this wild solar eclipse season that's going to last not only the next 2 weeks, but then afterward, the next 6 months. So it's like the next 2 weeks and 6 months. So that's why it's so important to really like let go. Because when you try to force something during the solar eclipse, nah, like just don't do it. So pretty much the best way to put it, right? Yeah. So someone just asked, is Monday a good day to manifest or do spiritual work like candle work? So I personally, and I've referenced a couple other astrologers that I've spoken to about this, just to kind of get like a better understanding and to understand all sides of it. But basically the whole idea behind it is that I wouldn't suggest doing it on Monday. I would suggest doing it maybe like Wednesday, because the day of the solar eclipse is literally the like sun being blocked out. Like think about it like that. It's like the whole sun being completely blocked out. In ancient times when that happened, they were like, what's going on? Oh my goodness, it's the end of the world. Like it's not like a time to make like new things happen, but I would definitely suggest the day afterward or a little bit after to get into that, because that's what's going to be making that happen. Letting go and going with the flow, someone said. Facts. That's pretty much what you have to do as far as that day. And when you feel it's right to light the candle, when you feel it's right to do that, I would highly suggest you do it then. But if it's not the time and you're just trying to make yourself do it, you can't do it then. You get where I'm coming from? I think that's the best rule of thumb when it comes to like that in particular, right? So, like I said, the next day though, on the 15th, is going to be Venus entering Sagittarius. And Venus, the best way I like to explain it is like the cosmic heart, right? It's the heart of the whole idea of, it's the heart of it's more so like our physical heart in a sense, right? So it's the way that we love, it's the way that we really try to relate to other people. So with Venus going to Sagittarius, on a collective level, people are going to be seeking a new sense of personal freedom, a new sense of personal personal freedom, tapping into how other people feel and what they actually think of. So people, even if you're someone who's not necessarily open to other people's information, if you're not someone who like listens per se to certain people because you're like, oh, I don't know about them, this is honestly a time frame where you're going to start to hear what they're saying, or you're going to start to hear what's important in what they're saying. So even if it's somewhere you're like, I can't stand hearing this person, I can't stand this, they might throw in a gem in there that might literally completely alter your life. And the whole idea behind this is that this Venus in Sagittarius, which I believe is going for the next 3 weeks or so, is going to be, like I said, tapping you into the heart of how do you get into your personal freedom and how do you embrace the morality, how you embrace like the visions that you end up having and tapping into. And what's more, with the solar eclipse, this is what's going to be pushing forward that. So the solar eclipse is not only affecting your sun and your persona and the outside, but it's literally going to be impacting your heart the day after. So it's like, this is why this is so important, because it's like literally the persona in your heart are all being like guided through by the universe to like move you forward into that. So it's a very critical time frame. So I'm very glad that everyone's here right now to hear this information, because like I know certain people that don't know about the solar eclipse, and then everything's like, what is going on for like a whole week? At least you know beforehand. So now you can tap in, you can tune into yourself a little bit better, and then keep it going forward, right? So the next day, I'm sorry, I'm still on the 15th. So on the 15th, right, we also have that Venus and Sag making a sextile over to Saturn. So this is a time frame where it's like, although you are accepting freedom, what type of personal responsibility are you putting onto your heart? What type of personal responsibility are you putting on? Like what passion are you willing to really go for? This is an opportunity to really put your heart towards whatever it is that you want. So what opportunity do you really want to chase? What opportunity do you really want to like resonate with on a heart level, on a love level, on a soul level, to really like make those big differences? That's another part of Venus going into Sagittarius on that day. The last thing on this day, which is really important for any of you who know about Chiron is going direct. So beforehand with Chiron's been in retrograde for the longest time. And because Chiron has been in retrograde, there's been a lot of perspective and a lot of like really delving into deeper emotional issues that we all have as far as facing our identities, our personal issues, as far as like facing what it is that we're able to bring to the table. With Chiron going direct, what this is doing is actually empowering us to stand in our identity, stand in our fullness of who we are, and not falter back. Like, we've done the work. You know what I mean? Like, we've done the work, we've done the tapping in work. Now it's a matter of like, how are we pushing forward? And with Mars still in Aries as well, it's going to start to kind of like energize you forward as far as like, okay, I've healed these parts, right? Think about it like this. All 2020 kind of sucked. 2020 sucked. Getting into the end of it, it's like, okay, things are kind of okay now. But the whole idea is like, now it's like, all right, so I worked on all of this throughout basically 2020, like all of this stuff, all this emotional things. I was stuck in the house, I had to really tap in. I was stuck in this, I had to really like get into there. I had to blah blah blah. Now it's going to be moving forward, and you're like, okay, I've done it now what? And the now what is pushing forward, making those new differences in the world, making those new differences in yourself and how you present yourself. In the universe, with the solar eclipse, once more, is guiding you through that whole entire process. And that's the most beautiful part about it. It's not a time where you have to do too much extra things. Like, I don't even suggest you put your crystals out to charge them underneath this energy, because it's that potent. You get where I'm coming from? It's like, allow the universe, and that's going to be how it works, right? That's always how it's going to work when it comes to eclipses. So the last thing, going into the end of the week, we have Saturn going into Aquarius. And I'm so happy Saturn's going into Aquarius, because Saturn and Capricorn has been literally, that's why the world fell apart. Saturn and Capricorn is why the world fell apart. I'm gonna keep it like that. So with Saturn going into Aquarius, what's happening is that we're actually going to be bridging into a new sense of communication with one another, a new sense of vision with one another, and honestly, on top of that, the online sphere of like communications and commerce and etc. are going to exponentially increase, and that's really going to hit once Jupiter goes into. So and then the moon's going to be in Aquarius as Saturn enters Aquarius as well. The moon and Aquarius have a special relationship. Be sure to check out my class on the 21st, where I'll break down all of that information to show you literally how those transits work. But outside of that, that's pretty much it as far as right now. Once more, I have my class on Monday, New Moon of Sagittarius. Please go to that class. All your questions about it will be answered like 100%. So please go through to that. Outside of that, once more, check out the House of Intuition page. If you have a code, 25% off to the end of today, and that's it. But once more, it was a pleasure to be with you all. It was a pleasure to speak with you all. This was your host with the most chat, the Maverick. Happy solar eclipse. Happy week going ahead. And until next time, have a great one. Stay blessed.